Well, we should probably get this thing kicked off, although I've probably got good material from that. We should probably
Well,
get
if you're
this thing
gonna,
kicked off and
yeah, I can't think of anything stupid I said.
You're listening to the Foundry Talk podcast with your hosts, Nate McLean and Perry Merritt. Take it away, boys.
well, welcome back to Foundry Talk. I can't even tell you what episode this is. It's probably 5.
It is
4 or
5.
5. I don't know, 5. And with me is always my partner Nate McLean. We are honored, privileged to have a YouTube star with us.
He's a
Clarke
megastar.
Easterling from Windy Hill Foundry.
Megastar.
I know, a
You made
YouTube
a big
star.
head here.
Megastar.
Hey, anybody that had a better channel than mine is a star in my book. So,
Well, I appreciate the compliment, but I'm far from being a real star here.
yeah, you've got you keep cranking out videos. You've got an audience that's loyal to you. Makes you a star in my book. So, and we have been chatting now for quite a while, and what you're going to see in this or hear in this podcast is probably a lot of the conversation that we've had leading up to me doing this intro. I want to point out that at some point during the video, I'm going to offer up Nate. Nate has got a giveaway that he wants to do, and I'm not going to tell you when it is because I want you to listen to most of it. If I tell you it's at the very end, you'll just skip out there at the end. So we're gonna stick that in somewhere in here. But we have been chatting with Clarke about a lot of things. Had a lot of fun this morning. We've had a lot of laughs. Clarke, we wanted to kind of open up and just briefly give us your story because I think it's an interesting one. You didn't start out in the foundry business, much like
No.
neither Nate or I started out that way, but you are there now, and I'd love to hear your story about how that happened, and what kind of maybe just even fell into place to get you doing this thing, and we'll go from there.
Well, I started off as far as any meaningful career as a machinist. I did that for about 9 years. And then I went from there into quality for another company that I worked for 25 years where I programmed CMMs. Even during my days of machining, I would be amazed at castings when I would get an opportunity to machine on one because I was always able to envision how the outside profile of a casting was made, but the core work, the intricate core work that was involved to create internal features, that just floored me. And so I was always intrigued by the casting process. And anytime I got a book on it or saw anything on videos, this is long before YouTube, by the way. Any information I could get on casting processes, I was always tuned into that because I just wanted to know how this stuff's done. And it wasn't until about 20 years ago, while I was working my other job, I decided to venture into experimenting with it and try and melt aluminum, and which was fun. I enjoyed that. I can remember vividly the day I melted my first aluminum, and it was super exciting to have a controlled melt that I was able to do. And from there, I decided I wasn't happy with just aluminum. I wanted to bypass bronze altogether and go straight for iron. I also had an interest at that time in the steam community. Steam engines, anything related with steam, I wanted to be a part of. I never could afford a steam engine myself, but I got thinking, how cool would it be if I could utilize my skills and what I've learned to produce replacement parts for these obsolete American antiquities that are disappearing, So after that 5 years go by and at that time, keep in mind, I'm working a full-time job that takes me on the road for 2 hours a day. I'm gone 10 hours a day. When I get home, I'm up late at night every night trying to make this work. 5 years later, I actually get to where I'm able to melt iron consistently, predictably. And that's when I decided I wanted to create Windy Hill Foundry. And it was on that night that I made that decision. We had tornadic activity, trees were laying sideways, and I decided, what better name than Windy Hill Foundry? And that way, I'm not misleading. It kind of leaves people to know this is a very small operation. It's not a NADCAP certified facility. So I wanted to pick a name that would stick, but at the same time, not have people over expect on what we could do here. I wanted them, so that's where the name came from. And from there, we have produced castings not only for the steam community, we have produced castings for like wall washers, what I call wall washers. These motifs that you see on the side of these old antique buildings, cast iron. We've produced a lot of those for restoration purposes. We've produced parts for lighthouses that they're restoring along the Great Lakes. So we've done quite a bit of marine products here.
I forgot something. 1 second, guys. 1 second.
All right. Well, I was going to ask about his furnace, but I'll wait till you get back.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot.
We were
That's
last night or this morning, Nate and I were talking about you and
I hope it was all.
talking about your furnace, and we were trying to figure some stuff out. And so,
Well, I forgot
That'll
that
just-
who we were interviewing.
Me
So-
too.
So
Oh.
I figured I would come on and we would do this Clarke style. So don't mind me, folks.
I thought about grabbing my hat and shield. I can just pull my shield, that dark tinted one down, and that's kind of my security blanket.
Yeah, that's your MO. That is the signature move for Clarke. He's only got his top part of his head on the video.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And I didn't realize that till Stan pointed it out.
So funny. Yeah, well, yeah, that's the way it goes. Yeah, that is so hilarious. Stan's an interesting fellow too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's one of a kind.
Yeah.
He has went above and beyond to help me out. And if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at with this new furnace. And knock on wood, hopefully, we're still days away from getting it where I want it. But you're talking about a whole day just to prep the furnace each time you go to reuse it. So it's not something I can test every single day. And you got to have molds ready if you actually hit the mark, right?
Yeah. So on that furnace, Perry and I were talking about that. So it looked like to me the furnace was still running when you were pouring, when you were testing. Is that the case? You have an umbilical cord for propane, or you have a drip pot on it for diesel? How does that work?
It's not really a drip burner. I had to, and I really don't know what you call that. I had to design that to where it'll burn at any angle. My other burners will not do that. They'll only work in a vertical position. So I had to design something and try it to where it would work consistently at 0 all the way up to 30 degrees. It turns out I'm going over 30 degrees with the tilt. And but it is diesel, and you do have to get it lit with propane. It's I try not to talk about it too much on my channel because
Sure.
it's a liability. That's a dangerous burner, and if somebody gets hurt, which somebody did years ago, they didn't see what all was going on the inside. They just looked at the outside and said, "Oh, that's simple enough," and they ended up in the Memphis Burn Center for a good month.
Ouch.
And we've had explosions just with my design.
What?
in the past. And
Explosions?
the burner will blow out, and you'll be blowing raw unatomized diesel straight on that white lining on the inside, and that's not good. That thing starts steaming, and the next thing you know,
It goes.
it'll blow that thing to Kingdom Come. We had a lid on one of my other furnaces that thing weighed at least 300 pounds, and it sent me across the building. So the startup procedure is critical, and anytime we redesign a burner, you gotta be very careful as you learn the startup procedure, because everything works differently. And but what I recommend people do, what I try to advise people to do, is stick with those Devlin nozzles, because they're pretty safe. And,
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. If you're not running it periodically, that's the way to go. And it's just, like I said, it's just safer.
But can the Devil, will the Devil Forge nozzle, will it get hot enough to melt iron and bronze?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just takes longer.
You said the Devil Forge nozzle.
Or burner.
Devlin. He said,
oh, it's Devlin.
Devlin? Is that the name?
Devlin nozzle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood you.
They're a
the Devlin nozzle. And it's very efficient way to burn. You can, you're running compressed air through the system when you're using one of those. Unlike the way I do it, I'm using compressed air as well, but in a higher volume. And
you're using the air to atomize your fuel, aren't you? Because you kind of drip it out. Or, I mean, it's not a drip, but that amount of air and the speed at which it's going is what's atomizing your fuel as it enters the chamber. Yeah.
I've got some diffusers that cause vortices in there, and that's what does it for me, because, like I said, I'm pumping a large volume of air, not a high 30 psi or greater stream of air, which is a lot higher velocity. I'm using a lot larger volume at a higher compression. And so for my application, you have to have diffusers in there in order to get it to work right. And I still don't have it perfect. I'm going to probably end up chopping this burner 2 or 3 more times over the next month or two before I get it where I want it.
Is all that stuff
the thing.
Is all that stuff attached to the furnace then?
Yeah, it's bolted on.
So it just slides with you when you go down the rail and.
Right.
Yeah,
that and the blower, and that's the other thing I'm working on right now. I just went up to a bigger blower, and that may not work, but if it doesn't, I even have a bigger blower I've got several different blowers that are. I'd rather avoid putting them on just because of the weight of them.
Yeah.
But all that's got to be factored in with the weight too.
But you can dump air off before it enters the chamber if you want to, right? So if you have too much air, or I
can restrict it. Yeah.
So we were also talking about trying to figure out how you load that thing, and we kind of reached the conclusion that possibly before you bolt that bottom well to the bottom of your furnace chamber, that do you load your rotors and stuff on there on the sand, or do you dump the rotors down through that slot on top?
Yeah.
What does that do to
I
your
don't
sand?
literally dump it. Your iron starts melting in the exhaust and just raining down like a cupola.
Yeah, but what
So you're allowing it melt and drip down in there rather than the whole rotor going in there and making a dent in your bottom, your tamp bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That solves it.
Now, with that said, I haven't gotten good with that process yet, because I've had a couple whole rotors slide right down in there, but usually I've got a bath by then, so it's not. You have a dense bath there that hopefully they're they're not damaging the burner, the bottom of it. Um, but yes, I've noticed if I tilt that thing, because I have a very acute angle where that exhaust is, and I lay the rotors on that, they preheat, they get hot, they start dripping, and then they rain down. And if I tilt the furnace back a little bit, that acute angle kind of levels out, so I don't have so much of a slide going in. So,
Wow. I guess I
and
did. Yeah, we were trying to picture you dropping them down through there with your arm holding on so they could hit the bottom gently and all that. It's like, I mean, not with the burner running. You'd preload it, turn the burner on, and melt the stuff that's already in there.
well,
But
you run into problems like that. You'll chill your bath. You don't want to do that. And I prefer to liquefy them in the exhaust before they ever get to the bottom, and that way it's a gradual thermal change instead of a shock.
what happens to
But
the bath if you how do you run it?
well, if you drop a whole piece down in there, that drops your temp right there on your bath.
Like throwing an
okay.
ice cube in there.
And
So your
parts,
your bath will solidify then, or partially solidify when you do that.
partially, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Okay. I
it'll
gotcha.
take a good 10 minutes for it to get back to where you want it. And also from my experience, when you do that, unless you have that thing around 2,900 degrees, you want that to melt down fast, or it's going to 90% of that's going to be dross. So iron is a headache. I've I've got it conquered on hand ladling, but now I've got to start all over again now. And this is something else, inoculation. I try not to inoculate it with ferrosilicon until about 10 minutes before I pour. Because of this process, now I got to figure out what time am I going to do it prior to pour, and which direction do I need to put it in, through the bottom, or do I need to dump it through the top? I don't know. Like I said, I've got a lot of trial and errors. It's not just getting the thing to melt. There's a lot of things I got to do tests on, because, and this is the other thing, I've had material labs test my current process that I do all the time, and I've gotten good results from it. So I stay consistent with every method that I do on that part of it. This changes everything now, so I'm going to have to, and I no longer work for a company that has a material lab, so so I'm going to have to pay this time
So,
to get this.
so
I wonder if we can get. I'm just thinking. You did that, Nate. I'm thinking maybe I could get Diet Coke to
yeah.
sponsor me. That's right. Clark's got one too.
Two against one. I got the traditional Folgers over here. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
but so
I call these throat boilers.
throat what?
I'd love it for them to sponsor us. If they could just send me a case of Diet Coke every
Call
week,
these
I'd be a
throat
happy
boilers.
guy.
That's what I start my day off with.
Do you like it? So
Yep,
so I
me
was
too.
never under the impression. My nephew and my sister-in-law, they were talking about when they love when they get a drink of soda, because they get that burn when they drink it. It goes burns their throat. I'm like, I never even thought
Yeah.
nothing about it. They were like, oh, we love the burn. I was like, man, I never even thought about the burn.
The
I was thinking
burn,
about
Diet
the
Coke
flavor.
burn
What's that? They like the burn from the CO2 or
from
whatever.
Diet Coke.
Well, it doesn't necessarily Diet Coke. It could be any other.
That
Oh.
sizzling effect
Yeah,
going
like
down.
Coca-Cola or
Well,
whatever.
Yeah, there's no accounting for whatever swill they're throwing down their throats. But this is like mother's milk.
Well, it is. I'm
I
surprised
call
you
this
don't
the
have.
elixir of life
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have a nipple on that
for
rascal.
me.
Like drinking it like a calf.
I could do that.
Yeah. Well, you could just get an IV bag and just hang it next to you, upside down, and just, or get you one of those.
That'd be
Get one of
awesome.
those hard hats that you put two of them in there with this little straw. You can drink it during the pod.
Oh man.
I tell you what.
All right.
So
Well, now we got the furnace questions out of the way, so now we can. And I
for
wondered
now,
why
yeah,
so you purposely don't show your that part of the setup then. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
because we were
I just,
looking and couldn't find anything, and that explains it.
yeah, there's, it's very dangerous, and
Yeah.
I just, I don't want to show anything that could get somebody hurt,
Yeah.
and because I've already had one victim from this, and since then we try to take only, like last weekend we went to an event, so I use a regular Johnson propane furnace, so that takes that out of the equation altogether. But yes, it's a the system I use is ideal for production work, but it's not. I don't want someone that's not familiar with what's going on in that burner, thinking they could throw something together and get hurt over it, because that
Yeah.
burned myself. I get burned enough myself to know what to do, what not to do on a safe level, right?
Yep.
I'm surprised
I got it.
you have blowouts once the furnace is hot, because once my furnace gets hot, it's when it's probably I feel like it's the most stable, as far as
It
keeping the
is.
flame going. But
It is. You know, but mine, you have to monitor it. You have to stay on top of it, because if that blower burns out, you can be as hot, that white radiant heat on the inside lining
right,
is brutal if you were to try to blow unatomized raw diesel in there. You can only imagine what is going to happen.
yeah.
It's bad.
Well, I've had them.
And
I mean, I've had it do kind of what you said. And I've never had an explosion. When the furnace
uh
is cold, if I shut down the exhaust, because my lid is large, what kind of my exhaust? I've got a
right,
hole in the top, but um, if I shut that down too soon before things get hot, I can blow the flame will burn out. It's like I just push too much air for it. And I get I'm spraying diesel in with with no flame, and I get this huge billowing white cloud of, diesel. But
I hope y'all are. I hope y'all aren't hearing these chickens in the background.
Yeah, I can hear them.
no, we're not here.
No,
You can
I'm
hear
just
them?
kidding.
Oh,
I'm
I don't
just
hear them.
kidding.
Are they out there fighting?
I'm sorry, Perry. Go ahead.
I don't even know what it was. Oh, anyway, so I've had that blowout and pumping fuel into my furnace chamber without, a flame or air. Actually, without a flame, I've had air coming in too. But that doesn't happen. And once I get the furnace hot, I don't have that problem. I don't have a problem with
Right.
things burning out. But if it's cold, I have a slow startup procedure, as you can well imagine, right? It's like, got to let it get a little bit hotter, and you bring in a little more air, and start getting things stable, and then I could run it
Uh,
full out and never have a problem. But
well, that's normally the case with me, but
yeah,
just like this furnace, just like the burner I'm using now, it will blow out on you. And luckily, you can hear it. You can tell when the blower burns out, when the combustion chamber's uh, not combusting,
yeah,
by the sound of it. And so I've learned to listen for that. And if I hear it, I go ahead and shut the blower down, let it reignite, and then I'm able to continue.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's loud
it's
when it's
it's
running right, right. When it's burning, it's loud. Mine's
oh
loud
man,
anyway.
it's not a real loud noise. It's just a very low pulse rumble.
Yeah, it's a low frequency kind of a noise. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think I already put this out on my last video. What I want to eventually have, I want to open this up to the public, on Friday evenings and do my pours, and that way nobody can complain. If I invite them, they're not gonna. Uh, they're probably not gonna want to say as much. But of course, I don't have. I'm a mile from anybody where I'm at, but I
I
just
can't
I
believe they
don't
can hear
want
it a
to.
mile away or complain about it. It can't be that loud a mile away. I mean, they can
Well,
hear it
I've never been a
probably.
mile away from it where I could hear it. So I don't know. But Dad
Well,
said that it was causing his window panes to buzz.
Rattle. How far does
yeah.
your dad
Well,
live?
yeah.
Dad live away?
Yeah, he's about uh half a mile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's part of my job too. I have to keep an eye on him and check on him throughout the day. And I have to, I'll tell you, most people don't realize working from home, it's ideal. But when your dad, he's in his 80s. So I have to stop a lot and drop everything just to help him.
sure. Yeah.
He's very dangerous. He turns stuff over, backhoes, tractors, and he's the luckiest man I ever met. He does not fear danger, and yeah,
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
yeah, but he's always getting stuck, or he's that individual that's not going to buy a battery. He'll have three different pieces of equipment, and instead of buying three batteries, he's just going to use that same battery in this machine or
Oh
that
Lord,
machine.
I'm
And
way too lazy for that. I can't do it. Nope.
yeah,
I might have
I am
four
too.
batteries, so I got a spare, so I don't have to go run to town. I'm so lazy.
Yeah, not that.
That's funny.
I can remember as a teenager, we actually shared that same battery with our truck. So
Oh
if you had to go
Lord.
to town in the truck, you take the battery out of the tractor to put it in the truck.
No.
Too cheap to buy a new battery.
Mm-mm. Yeah, we have some good sand in Texas. I mean, for especially for foundry use. At D Foundries,
Yeah,
when I managed that for 12 years, I mean, and still today, we would buy sand from a local mine, and they just mined it out of a pit, and they'd wash it and dry it and classify it and cool it,
yeah,
and they would store it for us. They would, especially in the summer, because it gets so hot, they would, so that the sand wasn't so hot when we got it and we could actually use it. They would actually
right.
cool it and classify it, and then put it in the trucks, park it in the shade under a roof, so it would be cooler by the time we got it. Of course, you have to transport it out of that truck with a pneumatic conveyor. Obviously, friction is going to heat it back up again anyway. So it's like six of one, half dozen another. But
Yeah.
it was all pit mined, local sand here in Texas. Good stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm using local sand
Hmm.
uh, by the truckloads, and I don't even wash it.
Okay.
I've been lucky to be able to just throw it. Matter of fact, there's usually enough moisture in it. I can just
Just
throw it in the
mold it.
molar, add some clay, roll with it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm running out of coal dust. I've got to get more coal dust, or I'm going to have to design. And I've been talking about doing this anyway. I wanted to make a grinding machine for silica. I've actually thought about that because I've seen somebody else do it over in Australia, and it's a clever idea. And he's got it's where you just have two grinding wheels in a vertical axis. One is stationary, the other one's free spinning, and your sand goes right down between them, and you set your distance with a feeler gauge to decide what size media you want. But I was thinking about that for coal dust too. Of course, you don't want it generating friction and too much friction and getting hot, or you'll have a bigger problem. But I can get coal in chunks, but I can't get it in dust.
So, um, as a foundry guy, especially a one man band foundry guy, for you,
Yeah.
just a piece of advice: buy all the material you can that's ready to rock and roll, so you can use your hours efficiently for producing castings.
If I can get my, if it, I, I called Foundry Supply the other day because uh, there is some stuff, an additive that you can get that I saw another foundry use them,
Mhm.
and I wanted to get it. I wanted to get as much of that as I could.
Sure.
They won't come out here.
What
I'm out in the middle of
what founder supply was it?
with it was one in Birmingham. They said they're going to send their sales guy out here and talk to me, and they didn't have that particular brand I wanted, but they had something they said was similar to it. They would work with me on, and I haven't seen that guy yet.
So I got it. So
So
there's a company in that does real well. They've taken extremely good care of me over the years. And when we bought K in Manufacturing, they were like, "Yeah, well, whatever you need, just we'll work with you."
yeah,
And it's called Canfield and Joseph, and they have Steve Hodges was a sales guy in my area. He'd been around forever. He just retired this last year. But when we get with the podcast, I'm going to give you his contact information. Even though he's retired, you can still talk to him, and he'll give you the information. He used to go out to Alabama and some of those
okay.
areas. He'll be able to at least let you know where or who you can talk to if they can't provide it for you. There are people that can service you for sure. Even though you're a small account, it doesn't matter. They'll still service you.
Well, that's the problem I run into when they see that we're a very small
It shouldn't matter.
operation. They they kind of keep going. So I'm kind of I've given up being at the mercy of those guys.
Right.
Just like this furnace, getting crucibles in. Um, I decided, why am I even worrying with crucibles anyway, right? If I can get around that,
Well, I
I was
would I
kind of
would I would say if you can find them domestically, which I believe that you can for one of the sizes you're using. I the
uh huh.
I think I gave you one contact um, as an example for Bay States Crucibles. They manufacture them here in the U.S.
You did.
And then there's another one that I'll send you after the podcast that's in the U.S. They compete with one another, kind of friendly competitions, just like all of us in the foundry industry for the most part. But um, you can get, I believe you can get the crucibles that you use here in the U.S. Are you using what material are you using in your crucibles?
Well, we do gray iron. We do, which I don't want to pour iron from crucibles anymore if I can get away from it.
Well, I mean, it's
Uh,
acceptable. You can do it certain crucibles, but are you using silicon carbide crucibles since you're using an open flame?
no,
Are
no,
they
I'm
clay
just using
graphite?
clay graphite.
Okay, so so
Yeah,
so so typically with
I started out using I started out using that and the carbide crucibles. I couldn't tell much of a
there's
difference.
a big difference.
They
The thermal shock won't be the same as a clay graphite. They won't crack and fail as
yeah.
quickly as a clay graphite crucible. Matter of fact,
Well, I,
anytime that you have let's say it's a natural gas, or perhaps it's the same with the oil burner or propane. I can't really speak of an oil burner because I've never used one, but the thing is, it's still an open flame regardless. So typically, your base block that your crucible sits on, it needs to be silicon carbide, and then your crucible for the open flame, it needs to be silicon carbide. It will last tremendously longer, as long as
yeah,
wherever your burner is coming in to the burner chamber on a tangent, you want it to be so wherever your base block is at and the crucible sits on top of it, right? You want that burner, the center line of that burner needs to be at the center line right there where that crucible sits. So the flame, half the flame is on the base block and it spins around there like you typically do, and
yeah.
the other half is on the base of the crucible. You don't want it to be up any farther. You want it to, ideally, you would be on a tangent at that center line, where the center line
Hmm.
meets right there at the base block. That is ideal.
That's the way I originally designed my first furnaces. And the problem I was running into there was we would, eventually you're going to accumulate um, dross and uh, iron down in the bottom of that furnace, and it turns to a liquid and starts running back into the burner.
Okay.
So I ended up running I started raising my tweer to about 3 inches from that. So now you have a lot of course, I've never used silicon carbide plinths, I've always used fire brick and stacked them up, to get my elevation. And but I'm going to tell you, I from the tests that I've done, running my burner low to literally hitting the crucible on the sides, I can't tell a difference in the lifespan between one crucible and another.
Mm.
They all seem to get about 25 uses before they start burning up. I'm not arguing that fact, but I
Sure.
can tell you from my experience,
Yeah.
I haven't. That side of the crucible does have a little more abrasive wear to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
From where the glass hits it. But I had one furnace where I was literally I had the tweer right there at the side of the crucible, and I couldn't tell a difference in the lifespan of those crucibles deteriorating faster than if I had been blasting from below. So because of that, I started running my tweers higher just to keep any trash from running back into the throat of the burner. Uh, you know, because of that.
So,
But
so a lot of times,
but
to
my
design a furnace to prevent that from happening, typically what you would do is, even whether it's aluminum or whatever you're melting, is where you have your burner coming in and you've got your base block and your crucible at the bottom of whatever that chamber is that the base block's sitting on. You would always have a tube at
uh
the very bottom of that, is it like a drain, because if somebody drops a piece of metal in there, a piece of ingot or whatever, gates and risers, it falls down in between there, sometimes you can't get it out of there. Or if you have a run out, you'll say your crucible cracks, you want that to go out of the of the furnace rather than into your burner, because it's a pain in the neck, as
my
you know, to clean it out. So then it would run out on the floor into it could be whatever, or just into the floor.
yeah, my last furnace, I actually had a slag hole in
Hmm.
the back of it
Yeah.
just to knock out, if I needed to, and that worked good for a while. But I'm gonna tell you, as time goes by and you keep doing this, that even stops up and
Okay.
freezes off, and but the first furnace I had did have a drain hole in the bottom of it,
Okay.
and the problem I was having, I had to seal that off because half my heat was going out that hole.
Yeah, and so a lot of times they'll have a steel door that's on a hinge that basically,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you could be a half-inch thick plate or 3/4 inch plate if you want it to be, or you can even put some refractory on it or fiber ceramic blanket, glue it on there with some sort of
Yeah.
high heat shboo of some sort, and stick it on there, and it plugs the hole, or plug as a square hole, whatever it is, and then it helps keep that from coming down there, or put a pin across it so that you don't get your heat, and you still maintain your heat, but you can still pull that out if you know that you got a crucible broke, and it will allow that metal to drain out of there. Keep the burner going because it's not
Yeah.
going to back up into the burner, and then it will get that metal out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some pretty bad messes out there, and the it's rare that we actually have a crucible fail on us while it's in the melt, or
Oh,
while it's in the burner.
yeah.
But that does happen. We had it happen. As a matter of fact, when we were doing that capstan, it drained about 90 pounds of iron off into the
Oh,
furnace. But
wow.
luckily, that one had that slag hole, so we were able to clear it and get most of that out on the ground.
Okay.
Now that stuff I was telling you about was called Additrol, Additrol, and I'm trying to find out how to get some of that.
It was at a what?
Additrol, Additrol.
Hmm. That name sounds familiar.
It's
And
made by American Collide Company.
yeah, American Collide. Yeah. Colloid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you've had crucible failures, are you most of your failures have been outside the furnace, like while you're hauling them, or
Well,
have you
I,
had
I'm
very
not.
many?
There's probably only been 4 or 5 instances where my crucible actually cracked while I was using it or
Mhm.
bust out the side. For the most part, they just burn down, right?
Yeah.
They just evenly burn down.
And then they're just too
And
small to even go in your
yeah,
tank, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They get to the size where they're about half the size they used to be. Then I just chunk them. I get every drop of blood I can out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as long as it'll still make the pour and not freeze off before I can get it in the mold, because you only have, seconds that you're dealing with from the time you shut the furnace off, pull the thing out of the furnace and get it in the mold before you have bad castings if you
Yeah.
drag around with it. So a
Yeah.
lot has to happen in that tight little time frame, dragging it. And yeah, I'm trying to get away from that. On bronzes, aluminum, stuff like that, you're not in a race like you are with cast iron. Cast iron just freezes off way too fast.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Well, cool. Are
I
you?
wouldn't know. I've only
Go ahead, Perry.
go ahead. No, I was to say I've only gotten cast iron to melt to the point where I could actually pour it out of the crucible one time. I've
Yeah.
never, and that was with a propane burner that I had.
Well, it took me, from the time I was able to melt aluminum, I realized, okay, I've got this taste of it now. I want to learn. You're talking 20 years ago now. Uh, it took me 5 years from the time I was able to melt aluminum before I finally figured out how to consistently
I'll be
melt
right back, guys.
cast
1
iron.
second.
Yeah, get lucky and do it every once in a while, but in order to be consistent with it, I struggled for 5 years trying this and that. And at that time, I wasn't a business. I had all the time in the world to play around with it and experiment. And that's the thing about it. You don't have that kind of time now to do that.
Well, not now, you don't know, but yeah, and I've learned with mine, I think even from conversations with you, and you were talking earlier about the flame coming in against your crucible. Um,
Yeah.
my the size of my furnace chamber is way too big for the crucibles that I'm using. I mean, I
Mhm.
probably have wherever my camera is, I've probably got 5 or 6
3, 4
inches
inches.
around on all the way around. Maybe not quite that much. Maybe it's about 4 inches all the way around my crucible. And so I'm heating up a lot of air to get the air
Yeah.
and stuff. But then what I've done is I've moved the crucible, based on the conversation with you, I've moved my crucible so that it's more in line with the burner.
Uh-huh.
And no, it's not totally in line because my burner comes in a tangent to the the furnace wall, so I
Is
can't
it
get it like
really?
right up against it. But I do throw the flame right on the crucible to get things to, and it melts so much faster.
Mhm.
But like then I get the vitrify, what do they call it, vitrification, where it turns like glass on the outside. You get that going, but it's helped me. But I keep looking at these furnaces, uh, more industrial grade gas furnaces, and that have a a kind of like a fixed crucible in them, that you can
Uh-huh.
tilt and pour out of. Not like your design, but different. But and there doesn't look like there's a ton of space between the crucible and the furnace wall. It
Right.
looks like for the size of the crucible, which might be 2 feet across or 3 feet across, whatever. There's only a couple of inches around that thing to get for air and for flame. And that
Yeah.
tells me it's like, okay, that's probably the most efficient way of doing it. Now, I don't know how their crucibles are probably made out of refractory or something crazy to get them to last. But um, anyway, I just don't get hot enough. I still, even with my diesel burner, I don't get hot enough to melt cast iron in there because I just have that
Well,
space.
well, I kind of think in reverse on, and Nate might want to chime in on this, but I'm not so much focused on the burner's location and where it's at as much as I am just getting the overall chamber up to that radiant white heat. And once I've achieved, I'm thinking, like I said, I'm kind of thinking in reverse here. I'm wanting, I'm not really focused on the burner. I'm focused on that radiant heat and trying to
Mhm.
get as radiant heat as possible to absorb into that crucible, regardless of the burner, regardless of its location or regardless. I try to look at it from that perspective, and it's really helped me. Does that make any sense?
No, no, that makes a
I-
lot of sense.
I'm more worried about that radiant heat throughout and keeping that crucible as high as I can to the top where the hottest point of the flame is, right? Not the flame, but the heat.
Right.
And but the overall, if you don't have 100% coverage of white, blinding white, radiant heat, you're not getting anywhere with that temp, you know. Um, so with that said, that's one of the first things I always look for when I'm melting iron. I want to make sure, because if the thing's not blinding white, I'm wasting my time. I've got to have, you can't have any, and when you get to that temp, you're looking over in there, you see these little black areas in there. That's
Yep.
cold spots that, yeah, you're not up to heat yet if you see any cold spots.
Hmm.
And so you want to make sure everything is blinding white in there.
So
And it,
I get like soot occasionally. I mean, especially
uh,
early on during the burn when I'm getting the thing going, because I'm running. I guess I'm running too rich at that point, just with the too rich um,
are you
until I get the heat up and all. So I get black on my walls, but that a lot
yeah,
of times will just burn off.
right. Yeah, but yeah, that stuff, even it, once it gets the right temp, it turns blinding white, radiant heat,
Really?
right?
Okay.
So uh, the soot's not doing any. If anything, it's probably helping protect the refractory. So
Could be. Could
yeah,
be.
because you got what 6,000 degrees to melt carbon. Is that right? So, but yeah, mine soots up too, especially when I shut it down.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just a charred black mess on the inside, but all that gets hot just like the rest of it once you refire it.
And how much
And
space do you have between your crucible and your furnace? And like say, I'll say your previous furnace, not this one you're doing now.
um, I can probably get 3 fingers width all the way around in between the crucible and the liner. And then that liner will break down, and I end up throwing fire brick in there to make up for it because I don't usually have time to shut everything down and clean the liner out and re-ram it.
Right.
So, and then I buy as much time as I can with fire brick until I just can't, anymore.
So that's a lot
And that,
tighter than mine. I've got a lot more space, especially when I move it over towards the flame. I've got,
uh-huh.
you know, lots of space. So,
Well, there's nothing wrong with that if you got bigger crucibles, right?
well, yeah.
I've got a furnace that Keith Rucker designed and gave to me. I still haven't used just because it's huge on the inside, and I've got some crucibles for that will fit right down in there and give me that, 2 or 3 inches of clearance between the
Right.
liner and the crucible. I've never used. I was going to use that for bronze or aluminum,
Hmm.
uh, just because of the way he's got it designed. I've got he had that originally designed for a Devlin nozzle,
Okay.
and of course, I may go back with that. I still got the nozzle he gave me. I just don't like having to use my air compressor. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate being dependent
You're using the
on
compressor to push your fuel.
that one. Yeah.
See, I have a fuel pump that I use,
Hmm.
and you know, I had to I had to go through a couple of different pumps to find one that had enough pressure
Uh-huh.
to make that nozzle operate properly. But because yeah, I was like, I definitely don't want to be running my compressor all the time. That's just craziness to me.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
just, I got a fuel pump, which works great. Um,
A buddy of mine in Memphis, he I don't know how far he got with it, but he was designing one that would pressurize diesel up to, I don't know what the PSI was on that, but I haven't talked with him lately, but he was working. He's an engineer, and he was working diligently to see if he could compress diesel and atomize it strictly through compression and disregard the uh, air altogether.
Hmm. If you built a tower like 100 feet high, put your tank up there and just gravity.
Yeah. Well, that's the way I use. That's the way I go. I used to have a tank down on ground level, and I had a electric diesel pump to,
Yeah.
but the problem with that is you got to put filters in the system and everything else.
Right.
That works great when it's working, but then it's going to fail. And with all the variables that you deal with, just to get that kind of temp, you want to simplify it. You want to take out any possible. If you don't need that, do away with it. And now I don't have to worry about it because I'm feeding straight off of gravity. I don't have to worry about stopping lines up. Uh, it's a world of difference, and it's several variants less that I have to deal with now because you're not changing filters all the time. You're not making sure the pump's running, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And because nothing is more frustrating than being halfway through a melt and then something goes wrong and you're trying to figure out what's going on before you ruin this pour. And yeah, I always believe in simplifying it and doing away with, uh, some of the stuff I do may look crude and elementary to a lot of people, but if it works, I don't care because the end result is I've got a predictable, consistent operation or process there where everything's going to work, everything's free flowing, and I don't. Yeah, I I've learned what to avoid and
Mhm.
fuel pumps. Fuel. I'm not against them, but I'm not multitaskable enough to keep up with making sure all that stuff's working at the same time I'm trying to focus on getting a good melt. It's just
Get
I got
get
enough stress on me
get
already. Yeah,
get Dollar out there to help you.
yeah, yeah. She runs when I fire the furnace up.
Uh,
Well, we should probably get this thing kicked off, although I've probably got good material from that. We should probably
Well,
get
if you're
this thing
gonna,
kicked off and
yeah, I can't think of anything stupid I said, so I guess I'm good with
well,
it.
the good
you're
thing
I
probably good. Well,
the good thing about it is, Clark, it's just a conversation amongst three guys that are just.
Yeah,
It just so happens other people get to listen along and may might learn something along the way, and so that's the fun part about this whole thing. There's nothing really dumb to say. Yeah, we might put our foot in our mouth here and there. We might pull a Tim Walls knucklehead comment here or there, but you know what? That's part of life. It's real. So here we go. It's not a big deal. And not in my
yeah.
opinion anyway. It's who we are, right? That's what's so impressive to me about your channel. And the and I kept thinking, my God, how in the world is he doing that by himself? Because I know how hard it is whenever because when I was at D Foundries, I mean, there were days that I was, the guys would work, they'd work 4 to 1:30, and they'd go home, and
Uh-huh.
I'd be there till 8 or 9 o'clock that night, rigging patterns or doing
Yeah,
whatever. And you know what? That
yeah.
time that you're by yourself, some people say, "Oh yeah, it's all that solitude." And I was like, you know what? That sucks. Sometimes you're battling something,
It
something's
does.
not going right, and you want to bounce some ideas off of somebody, and you're there by yourself, and all I have is Shelby to
You
talk
need
to.
that. I I need that moral
Hundred
support, and
percent.
anytime I can get it, I love it because you're right. You're exactly right. It gets, and I don't suffer from depression, but you get depressed when you're stuck there at night. Nobody else is around. Nobody to talk to, and it plays a key point anytime my wife comes out there to hang out with me when I'm working.
Yeah.
I don't think she realizes just how much I appreciate that
Absolutely.
because uh, it's I've got to have people around when I'm doing stuff like this, and I think that's I've always had people around in my previous work days, and I'm used to that, and now I don't have it. So I think that's one reason I do YouTube is just to, even though I can't see these people, they see me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, well,
I take them with me.
and that's part of the part that I find it impressive. 'Cause some of the videos I was watching, you were having a really bad time. It was a struggle, and the wheels were falling off the bus, and it was just all heck was breaking loose. And I'm sitting there thinking, I was feeling for you. I was like, man, I know exactly what that feels like. And then you come like on the camera, and then you're talking about it, and the frustration. Obviously you compose yourself, because the camera is
Oh
there,
yeah,
you're presenting itself in a different manner than the way that you probably did off camera, obviously, because we've all been there. Well, Perry's not, he hasn't been there, but the rest of
yeah. There's been times I've decided should I leave that in or not. I'll just bleep what I said
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but one of the most frustrating videos I ever had to make was working on that stupid Mueller, and I actually named it the Mueller Report. And I'm down there, I'm pinned, I'm pinned down on the ground trying to fix this Mueller, and my dad's dog, which pees on everything, saw me down there, and I'm in this tight little corner. I couldn't move.
He
Dog
peed
peed
on
all
you.
over me. Yeah, he peed on
The
me.
dog pissed off
And
Clark.
yeah, yeah.
That makes for a
I
bad
didn't.
day, Clark, if you get pissed on by the neighbor's
Yeah, I
dog.
didn't show that part on video, but I addressed it on video. Man, I was mad.
My goodness,
That dog's lucky to
Clark.
be alive. But yeah, I was
That's
pinned down, I couldn't
That's
move,
classic.
and I was yelling, "Buddy, get away!" And yeah, it was awful.
Well, you
But
know what? And that's why I love you, man. Like I told you before on the phone, I was like, man, Clark is like the uncle that I never had that melted metal down in the garage in the shop, and he's out there doing stuff. And he'll be the one that takes a chainsaw and he'll drag this huge furnace 40 feet across the shop because he has no way else to move it, and it takes him 6 hours. He's out there, and he's got a time lapse video of watching it. And I just love every bit of it. It is pure gold and entertainment for me. I just love it. Anybody that hasn't seen the Windy Hill Foundry YouTube channel, you got to check it out. It is so hilarious. And then if you start from the beginning and you see how it's kind of evolved and that sort of thing, it's almost like reality TV. I mean, it's just I love it. I love every
yeah,
bit of it.
well, it's all real.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
might
the
plug a
fun part.
UFO in every once in a while, but yeah, for the most part, it's all down to earth, real world situations. I need a camera on the outside of my building when I'm rolling that furnace up and down that trolley to see if the building's doing this.
Oh wow.
well, yeah. The guy that was just on, he said he was jumping up and down on the the
Stan,
furnace with the
yeah,
trolley, and
yeah,
Stan, he's from Bar Z,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
and we did have some deflection, but it wasn't anything to worry about, and I'm not going to be that aggressive with it, so I'm going to be as gentle as I can. So we should be in good shape on that. And we tested that out there where you got a 36-foot span with no supports.
Hmm.
So if
yeah.
it'll handle it out there, you know, we did it in the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
Awesome.
because you said something like I got 12-foot supports inside.
Inside, yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is that thing is putting out so much heat. I don't think I'm going to be able to roll it inside without taking some walls down now.
Really?
Some exterior walls. Yeah,
Melt the tin off the
that thing
roof.
serious BTUs. I mean, you're burning about 12 gallons an hour now, and 12 to 15 gallons an hour.
Clark melting the
Some
sheet
serious
metal off the
serious
building.
BTUs. There.
Wow.
And I
Uh,
had to that truck that I'm running my iron crusher on. I, I I haven't moved that truck in 10 years. Well, we had to move it. It's got air brakes. The air pumps out on it, so we had to run compressor line to the air tank just to charge that up, just to get the brakes released to move it back. And I'm glad we did because, yeah, I'd probably have a serious issue if that thing caught on fire.
Well, that
Is
would
your
have been
roof
Need
just
some.
is your roof just tin, or are
Yeah,
do you
it's
have wood?
10.
And you don't have wooden trusses or anything under, do
Wood
you?
purlings.
Do you
Wood
have wood
purlings.
purlins? Okay, for the
You know.
tin.
Yeah. The bees have to have something to eat. I've got these carpenter bees out there, and they were real bad before I put that new roof on. I got all new purlings and everything, and now they're starting to bore into them. So I asked Keith about that. He said I need to just paint them, and
Hmm.
that'll stop that. So looks like I'm gonna be painting the purlings up there, not for the looks, but to keep the bees out of them. Have y'all don't have that problem, do you?
Where
I
I'm out?
I don't.
Man, you can take a board and you can saw it in half where a bee has been going in here and coming out 10 feet down the end of the other board,
Perfectly.
and
Yeah.
they will be within an eighth of an inch from the outside of that wood tunneling, being parallel to that. It's remarkable.
Yeah,
It's amazing to
we
me.
had that problem in Oklahoma when in our garage, which now that I think about it, the garage needs to be taken down. But yeah, they were like those
Uh-huh.
wood bees, and and some of those holes were like half-inch in diameter because their bodies are huge.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They're 0.506 diameter.
506.
They get your calipers out there, man.
Yeah, they're very precise.
I
But
believe it. I never measured ours, but
but I, but yeah, it's amazing if you could get a hold of a board and resaw it down the middle. It's amazing how their tunneling system is. And speaking of that, we poured an anthill in cast iron years ago, and I did a little video showing that. It was during one of our events, and it just happened to be the day after a rain, and we poured that anthill, and we had a 20-foot radius around that point where steam was coming up out of the ground like old faithful. But the
Wow.
funny part about that is it just happened to be on my water line. I
oh
forgot it
wow.
ran right there.
Uh,
Yeah. Luckily it didn't go deep enough to hit it, but when I went to use the backhoe to pull it up, I found it.
oh no. You didn't put that in the video.
Yeah. No,
That would have been
no,
excellent.
it would have been. I was pretty frustrated by then.
That would have been excellent too.
Yeah, it would have been. I
Did
I
you?
would recreate it, but that's a lot of work.
I've done one. I've done one anthill by our barn, and I
Uh-huh.
couldn't believe the love I got off of comments about how I was killing these innocent creatures and they were here
I,
first and on. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? These
it's
freaking
the
ants! They
same.
bite everything they come across. You know,
Yeah,
they're,
I got the
they're
same comments. Probably the
wow,
same people.
probably the same
Yeah,
ones. It's just like,
yeah. I would love to send them a mason jar full of them.
yeah,
Send
exactly.
me
When they're
your
chewing
address.
through
I'll
the
send you some
wood
of
and
their
they're chewing,
cousins.
Uh huh.
yeah, yeah. I only did one because I'm a sensitive guy. It bothered me. In fact, I got to tell you, I mean, this has been kind of gnawing on me for a little while. You made a comment to me one day, Clark, that it scarred me, and I just needed to let you
Man,
know. Yeah, you. I was out there. I was struggling with a mold, and it was like it's like a 3-part mold with a
yeah.
cheek flask in it all, and I was struggling because it was heavy. And you said to me, my wife lifts bigger molds than that. And every time I lift a mold and it's like, man, this is heavy, I think about your wife.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to. I should have kept my mouth shut.
Oh man, you're gonna have to get some thicker skin, Perry.
I know. It's like I just bleed sensitivity.
Oh yeah,
So
Well,
right.
I'm fixing to be ramming up some molds. I'm dreading because they're about each half is about 40 pounds, I believe.
You
okay.
don't have a
Yeah.
Home Depot?
Yeah.
Well, just get in your pickup truck and drive down there to the Home Depot and load you up about 2 of those day laborers and bring them back, and they'll pick them all up for you. You ram them
Yeah.
up, you do all the stuff, and then you just take them on back and give them cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Save your breath.
I think ICE has gotten rid of all those guys, haven't they?
Nah, they're still in there. Some of them went into hiding, and they're kind of coming back out.
Yeah. Yeah. My cousin uses them often.
Well, there you go. Call him. Hey, I need one. I need somebody with a strong back.
Yeah.
They don't even have to speak English. They can point and grunt, and you can show them that they'll do it done. I promise you.
Well, I actually have an idea that I'm going to implement today and see if it works. I was planning on setting these halves together and then just trolleying them down in place with a crane and seeing if I can get away with that. And if I can, that'll save my back some relief right there.
Well, for sure.
But I got it. That chain fall, I mean, it's excellent for super heavy stuff, but I need it to where it's got a gearbox and can switch over to a faster speed for the light stuff, right?
Sure. Hey, you can't use an electric hoist, like a dual speed electric hoist.
I've got an electric hoist, but it's too, you have to. I don't have a traveling wire track up there to follow it, so I'm having to run a cord.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dragging a cord with me all over the place when I use that. But later down the road, we may have something like that.
Yeah, it'd make your life so much
But yeah,
easier.
it's kind of a headache because you're dragging an extension cord around with it, and then it comes unplugged when you don't want it to, and it's just
right.
It's just easier to use a manual crane.
Yeah.
But I could, and I've got a snatch block. It's designed for mountain climbing. I never used it, by the way. But it's that would work ideal just to hook it on the bottom of the chain fall just to make it work fast. I could do that. Yeah.
That's what you need to do. You need to build you another machine. Watch, I'm going to watch Nate's face when I say that.
He's like,
yeah. One thing at a time, Perry. One thing at a time.
You know what? I to your defense, I love making things like that. There's a joy out of solving a problem and making rather than just buying a solution. I get it. I mean, plus there's it's money, right? And I realize time is money, but I love making stuff to solve my problems.
I do too, and I've considered myself to have some pretty ingenious ideas in the past. Having the time to implement them is a whole different story, though, and I never seem to have enough. I waste if I could sleep instead of thinking. I'll be up till 2 a.m, laying there in bed thinking.
That's about the time I'm getting up because I'm thinking.
Yeah, and it's driving me nuts.
It's hard to turn it off for sure.
Yeah, and especially when you're pushing yourself to get stuff done, it just adds more to the thought process. Okay, well, if I just sat around and didn't do anything all day, I wouldn't be thinking about nothing at night because I didn't run into any issues during the daytime to keep the brain going.
Any problems to solve?
I need to sit around all day and not think about it.
You'd be living my life.
Oh, whatever. You got plenty to do. More than most, Perry.
I got plenty to do.
Yeah.
I got plenty to do.
And if you're out of stuff to do, just let me know because I got some more to dos for you. They're not honeydews; they're just to dos. Okay, don't get confused here.
To-dos.
My mother passed away at 55, and I'm 58. So, I passed that milestone. So I think about. I used to dwell on that till I hit 55, and I was thinking, well. We're gonna see now.
Any day now.
And now don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like
There's times I'm going, just bring it on.
Yeah, some days when the furnace isn't working and you can't get a good cash, it's like, today would be good, Lord. That way I don't have to fill this order.
Yeah, Yeah, just finish me off.
Take me
Just be
now.
done with me.
Oh, too
Yeah,
funny.
I've had those moments.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. It's not
What's
fun. It's
next,
not
Lord?
funny in the moment. I guarantee you, I've been there.
Yeah, I know it.
Well,
Sometimes
you
it's even
Definitely took.
funny.
yeah. Well, if you don't laugh about it, you'll cry about it, and then
Yeah,
depression and
exactly.
all the other stuff that goes along with it. I don't even know what depression feels like, but yeah, I don't want to. So
Yeah, well, it's not a good feeling. It can it's hard to pull out of when you get in that rut,
I'm sure.
and I try not to focus on it.
Yeah,
I try to block everything out that's possibly negative. When it gets to that point, when I have everything in the world hitting me from every direction, I just have to kind of block it out and just keep moving.
sure.
I worry about how are we going to pay the electric bill this month? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And it's I signed up for a whole bunch of challenges I didn't have in my earlier years. It's nice when you have a fluid paycheck. Ever since I took this job on, the pay is good, but it's seasonal.
I understand.
It just depends on what's coming next month. And right when everything's real quiet and you don't think there's anything out there, you decide I've got some things that I'm wanting to crank up and get out the door by the 4th of July to sell. And usually when I come up with something like that, people buy them,
Mhm.
even though they're pretty expensive. People will buy the stuff, just to help support the business,
That's a
and
blessing.
because they want a piece of Windy Hill Foundry. Uh, so I always have a backup plan to keep the money coming through, and if I ever run out of ideas, I'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But
yeah. I don't expect you're going to run out of ideas. Just,
No, I don't think so either.
watching you operate now, I don't think you're going to run out of any ideas. But
You want to kick
so
this
you're
off, Perry?
actually going to make something to sell at 4th of July, or is that your idea? Or
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I am. I've got some meat presses, Windy Hill Foundry meat presses that are really fancy. I tried the design. The design looks like something from the 1800s,
Really?
huh?
and they outweigh any meat press I've seen on the market. So, and I was originally going to get the things machined on the bottom, but who cares if their steak is 5/10 of an inch flat,
It don't
right?
matter.
It's going to just be like your skillet bottom, just a cast
Mm-hmm.
flat surface. So I'm curious to see how well these do. Um, it'll be something made here in the USA, right here in Mississippi, and we'll see.
Well, I'm all in. I'm buying one. Matter of fact, I
Okay.
might buy 10 of them, give them away for Christmas.
It says,
Don't put any
Nate,
pressure on him now. He's got to make 10 of them now.
yeah,
I'll pre-order.
it's got these fancy decorative handle ends on it. It's pretty. I'll send you pictures of
Yeah,
it.
do that. That way I can get I can
I
get it out
made
to
a
market before you do that way.
I
I'm
I made it. I
kidding.
made
I'm
a
kidding.
yeah. I made a couple as prototypes to give out to. I gave one to our local cafe. I got to touch base with them to see how well they like it, and then I give my buddy one, Eddie. He gets first of anything I make
Yeah.
because he's always out here doing anything he can. So I always try to make it up to him by making sure he's number one on gifts.
No, that's awesome.
Any- but anyway, it says make meat great again. So if you're vegan, you're probably not going to like it.
Yeah, well, you're probably not going to want to meat press if you're vegan. And like I told you the other night when I texted you, you just don't trust a vegan. If they won't eat
Yeah,
meat, you
yeah,
can't trust them.
yeah.
It's a
Well,
joke, folks. It's a joke. Don't send the emails in and hate on me. If you want to send bad emails in and hate on somebody, send it to go ahead and Clarke over there at Windy Hill Foundry.
Yeah.
He's got thicker
Yeah.
skin than me, and definitely don't send it to Perry. You'll make him cry.
No, because I'll
I'll
cry.
have the staff sort through them. Thank you for your interest.
This is going to sound inappropriate.
Oh, well, say it.
I don't think I've ever pressed meat.
Well,
I mean,
you're missing out, Perry.
It's a big thing now with these smash burgers, they call
Yeah.
them.
Oh, gotcha. I know what you're.
Yeah, throw a piece of parchment paper down and give her and you got to push it
I'm
down.
thinking you're
twist
taking
it.
a steak and pressing it.
Well, so you do
Well,
just to get the grill marks on it, so it looks nice and pristine.
Sure.
Yeah.
I had it going on I'm thinking, so I've got a tortilla press, right?
Oh, yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
something you do, and then you put it on the flame, right? So that's what I'm in my mind I'm envisioning, but I wasn't thinking of the smash cut burger kind of thing.
Well, not everybody's going to have one, but I wanted to make the best, biggest, heaviest meat press available to the public.
I like it.
And have American-made product, right? So, and there's no moving parts on this, so that's even a bigger plus. And the way I'm casting these, I'm casting the handles separately. The handle ends. The handle itself is wood. So, you just have to assemble it. I got everything to where it fits and locks in. And
so the customer will assemble their own press?
No,
you
we'll assemble it here.
Okay.
Yeah, it don't take but probably 1 minute to put the thing together. So, yeah, it's take longer than that whole shipping label.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that idea.
But we do an event every year in April, sometime in April, and we have people bring stuff out and we pour it. Some of them bring their own molds. Some of them just make them here on site. And we had Jimmy DeResta here this time.
Oh, cool.
I'm working on a video currently, trying to get that out, showing him. Keith and I, when we were on the road last year, we went up to see him, and I don't know if y'all have been following his channel on that cemetery house that he has. He bought some property outside of Durham, and this old house, it was built in the 1700s. Along with it, it came with a cemetery across the street.
Wow.
So he owns a cemetery too. And we were touring the basement, going down in the bottom, and I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at my phone while I was trying to walk around, and dadgummit, I think I got a concussion. I hit that sill coming up out of the floor, and I heard cartilage and everything else squishing in my neck. And that was 4 months ago, and I can finally turn my head this way and that way.
Ouch.
It took forever to get my head to turn again. But it was,
Well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it at Jimmy DeResta's. I mean, he's got a little bit of money, so you can just get something out of that.
But he put his mark on everything here, and
that's cool.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Yeah. We're glad he was able to come.
Yeah, but he seems like a good guy. I talked to him one time. I haven't had but he seemed like a decent guy.
A great guy. He's down to earth, normal, just like we are. He's got a few things going on there that kind of have me concerned at times, like the skull on his dining room table. But it's other than that, he's
harmless.
Yeah, he's fun to be around. Yeah,
he's from Mississippi.
No, he's from New York.
Well, I keep one of these on my table, so why not?
Okay,
why not?
So, did you make that off of an original dinosaur skull?
Yeah, that's a tiny T-Rex. Yeah, it's a baby T-Rex. So back in the day, I don't know if you know this or not, but they used to kind of like the chicken wings are real hot, Buffalo Wild Wings, that sort of thing. So back in the day, they used to eat the T-Rex arms, so that's why the skull's so small.
Huh. Never thought about it like that.
Hey, they're not inventing anything new. It's been around forever.
You all right, Perry?
He's like, these guys are idiots.
Oh man.
He thought this was going to be a serious story, is what he thought, and then I just completely, he just bamboozled him with bull crap.
But now you were asking about do I have any musical talent? Yes, I used to play the tuba for a Mexican place over in New Guinea.
A
That
Mexican
Mexican
place?
joint in New Guinea. Yeah, and yeah, they it's pretty easy to do. You're just going boom, 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 boom. 2 notes. But anyway, I was filling in for this guy named Uncle Bozy. He disappeared, and turned out the guy that owned the place. Yeah, and the guy that owned the place, his name was Cannibal Lecter. And anyway, when I found out, there was word out that Uncle Bozy got ate by cannibals, I decided I better head out of there and get back home as soon as possible.
So you retired from the tuba business at the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah,
Well,
that might be a little too political for this. So you don't have to use that if you don't
No,
want
I
to.
probably won't because I've got neighbors just to the north of me. I mean, whatever they
Yeah,
are, 200
like I
yards
said,
away,
you
300
don't
yards. And
you don't.
they're always playing, especially in the summertime when they're having parties. You got that
Uh-huh.
mariachi music going, and it's just you hear that tuba, boom, 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 and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. It's like, man, you could just have a machine doing that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mexican
I know.
polka.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very similar to polka.
Yeah,
The beats. Yeah.
yeah, it is
Mhm.
very similar. I saw a video not too long ago of a Mexican guy, and they're talking about they were inviting him to a German party, and he's like, I don't know if I'm
Sure.
going to go to a German party. Anyway, then they cranked up the polka music, and he's got the the pointy boots on and everything, and he starts dancing, and he's like, this isn't German, this is Mexican,
Mexican
man.
music.
He's jumping around, and
Get
he's
his
like,
old sombrero on. That's awesome.
But yes, we produce parts for boats, lighthouses, trains, anything that's within our pouring capacity, and cane mills. Cane mills are a hot item now. A lot of people are going back to cane mills, wanting to restore them and produce cane syrup. And without some of these parts, they're not going to be able to go very far. So it's in decorative castings. We do a lot of that. As a matter of fact, Nate took a job for me while we are down on the furnace to help get me out of a tight on that job. So yeah, there's nothing we won't try to pour if it's within our pouring capacity.
yeah.
What
But you've
what
obviously, if anybody watching your videos can see that you're getting ready to up your pouring capacity quite a bit with this new furnace. So
Yeah, 90 pounds used to be our max, and it took 2 people to do that. Now, if this works, which it's going to have to, there's no if to it, we're going to be able to pour 400 pounds with one person. So that's a major deal for me.
yeah,
And if anything's going to make me or break me, it's going to be this furnace here. But it's going to work. We've already melted iron with it, but we needed another couple hundred degrees to be happy with it, and I think we got there now. So we'll see.
cool.
It's
Exciting.
anybody in foundry related work understands the miracles that are always performed. Because honestly, when you think of any other industry, the foundry end poses more challenges than any other position I can think of.
Yeah, I would agree.
Can you think of anything that poses any more possible?
Well, there probably do exist. I just don't know about them. But what I will say is, in the foundry
Yeah.
industry, for everything's got to be just right. Like, we have so many variables to deal with. I mean, even the weather, for Pete's sake, can affect castings. Whether we get hydrogen defects in our castings, and the humidity's too high, and things of that nature. A little bit of moisture in your compressed air. If you're making no bake molds and you got some air injection and you got some moisture in there, that moisture gets in that sand and mixes in there with the binder and chemicals. Man, you can have a big old mess on your hand. You can have subsurface casting defects and all those sort of things that go along with that. The challenge is day to day. If you don't pay attention to your processes and really stay on your game, well, you can make a lot of scrap really fast. And unfortunately, some of
When I
that's
say all the when I say all the planets have to be aligned every time for a successful pour, I meant that. You know,
So you only pour like
can't.
once a year? Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, it's kind of like taming
It
a
feels
tiger.
it feels like my years are every day. The race for time is on, right? So everything's always, yeah. So the planets have to be aligned every single day for me.
Yeah.
That I find that out.
Yeah, well, that's the important part, is to control all the things that you have the ability to control, the variables, and the other
Yeah.
things that you can't control, like the humidity. I mean, obviously in Mississippi, you guys probably don't have any humidity out there, I'm assuming. So it's probably just like, you know, nice and you'd not balmy or anything.
The humidity does not pose a problem when it comes to melts. The humidity is the problem when it comes to molding. Everything wants to stick to your tools, the patterns. You're constantly torching everything and drying it back out. If you can just get the molds made, I'm pretty good. I'm good from there. Now the barometric pressure does affect our melt. Uh, depending on the weather, the system, the weather system, you do have to kind of compensate for that.
And
One day,
it affects your melt because you're using natural gas or propane or oil type burning instead of induction
yeah,
melting, right? Yeah.
right. One of the problems I run into is I'm too critical about my own product. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how to just let something go sometimes when there's nothing wrong with it, according to the customer and according to other people. But I'll see inclusions or an inclusion or shrinkage or something that just it won't fly here, and there's no way I'm sending it out the door. So I'd rather scrap it, and that hurts me a lot because I don't know what's acceptable and what isn't
Mhm.
in the customer's eye. And um, I don't know if how do you deal with situations like that?
For the most part, so I mean, we know what being dealing with industrial parts and pump parts and that sort of thing. We know that the where the machine surfaces are at, because we typically always get cast drawings, machine drawings. We have solid models. We work from all of that because it's super important for us to, because time is of the essence. We use solidification and flow analysis exclusively. We use solid cast, and it's one of those things that if we didn't do that, it would slow us down even more, because with us using 3D printed sand molds and cores, we can't just go out there and pour it and go, oh well, it didn't work, we'll make another one, because the molds are very expensive, because you buy it by the cubic inch and then you got to freight it to you and all that stuff. So we have to make it right the first time. Not only do we have to make it right the first time for the cost of the mold and core packages, but our customers need it yesterday. They don't have time for us to monkey
Yeah.
around and, oh well, oh sorry, we screwed that up. So it's totally different. But when it comes to that sort of thing, we kind of already know what the acceptance criteria is. So if we see some
Well,
things,
my issue is with the cosmetics of it.
yeah. So iron is a much more challenging alloy, right? But when you're melting carbon steel and stainless steels and that sort of thing, if you've got a little bit of an inclusion in there that's at the surface, before we heat treat it, a lot of times, depending on what the alloy is, a WCB, for example, carbon steel, we'll just go ahead and weld it up. and you grind it back down because it's a weldable alloy. Whereas iron, you'd have to use a high nickel rod or something along those lines. It's not as easy to repair. So for that purpose, in iron, what I would do, and what I would suggest that you do, and I'm gonna reach out to the folks at Canfield and Joseph, Brian Barber and Jared Joseph, which is the president of Canfield and Joseph, to get you some samples of some material that's called Mold Coat S, and or a product similar to that. And what it is, it's a highly flammable product, so to keep it away from the flames, keep it in a fire, a flame resistant cabinet and that sort of thing. But what you do is you take it in. Have you seen the brass cans that have the holes in it that you would apply like parting compound with the air hose? You put the air hose. It looks like a bugle or a.
Yeah.
So you blow it in there. So you take that, you pour it in that cup, and you spray it on your green sand molds. And what it does is it helps hold those sand grains together that might be a little drier because of the I don't know if you're using southern and western bentonite or just one of those bentonites, but what it does, it actually makes like almost like a candy shell for your green sand mold to kind of secure that. It evaporates really fast because I believe it's acetone based. So but you let it set, you let it kind of evaporate a little bit. You can hit it with a torch if you want, but you can pour it relatively quickly. By the time you get the mold made and you dry your sand, you hit it with that Mold Coat S. It gives it that nice surface. Your castings will look so much better. The surface finish will be so much better. You can buy a gallon can. A gallon can will last you a while. It's not dirt cheap, but I venture to say that they'll probably give you a sample of it, and you'll be shocked.
I wonder if that's what I have. I have a 5-gallon bucket of mold coat that I bought years ago, and it was giving me casting defects not because of the wash. It was a reaction with something I had going on in my green sand,
Okay.
and according to the sales guy.
Well, so those
And
guys, whether it's American Colloid or if it's Refco Tech or who's ever's producing it today, um, they should be able to help you, and that's the great thing about these foundry supply companies, especially the good ones, the Canfield and Josephs and those guys out there, that they've got technical people, they have experience with what you need to do, and if they don't know, they know the people that know, so they can help
yeah,
you in that regard, and they're always willing to help you because guess what? Especially if you're buying product from them, that sort of thing, it's a shoe in. Clark's got a good relationship with the guys
yeah,
at Canfield and Joseph, or whoever the industrial supply is that covers your area in Mississippi. They're always more than willing to help in that regard. So
yeah.
we'll get you hooked up with some of those guys from the people that we know in the industry that will, if nothing else, there'll be a sounding board. Hey, I've got this problem and that sort of thing. That's the cool thing about those guys in the industry is they're there to help you solve problems because they've got product that they can help you with. Now, there's some products that you
Yeah.
may not need. There may be another way of doing it. And the vast majority of the guys, I've had people tell me, it's like, no, you don't need this product. You just need to do X, Y, or Z. And it doesn't cost you anything if you do this right because you're not doing it based off of foundry best practices. So that's some things that you can make happen pretty easy and that will help you immensely so that you're not beating your head against the wall and having to make a mold, pour it, and then, oh, I got this defect in it. Oh, I got this chunk of sand or something like that in there. Um, the other thing I would say is using, I don't know how much compressed air that you use for your molds, but a lighter amount of compressed air. There are certain air nozzles that you can use that actually help, especially with green sand, because you can erode it. A little bit of loose sand in the mold. I know you use the puffer. What is that puffer thing?
The bellows,
Bellows. I was like,
the
I
bell.
don't know what that thing is, but it's cool.
Well, the thing about bellows, they don't generate moisture.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
have to worry about moisture in the
Yeah.
lines with a bellow, and and I've gotten so used to that.
Sure.
I pretty much
I've never. I don't know that
Mr.
I've ever
Pete
seen one
222 give
before.
me.
Yeah.
You never seen a fireplace bellow?
Sure, come on.
I don't know that I have.
That's
Now I'm going to have to
if
look
you have
on
a
Amazon.
fireplace.
My wife won't. My wife won't let us. My wife won't let us use the fireplace. It's brand spanking new. I don't have a poker. I
Well,
don't have nothing.
it,
She's gonna hear this
So
and she's gonna slap. You're an idiot. Don't be talking about me on the podcast.
But
Clarke, I want to go
this
back to something you started this. When we started this whole little segment,
uh-huh.
you were talking about things that you look at it and you see problems with it, but your customers seem to be okay with the product. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah.
And I don't know that that is all that uncommon for guys who make things because I can take that back to I've done a lot of home remodel stuff, and I will look at drywall that I've done, and
Yeah.
the people will come in and they'll say, "Wow, this is a great room. I can't believe you did this." And I look at it and say, "Well, okay, but you see that
Yeah.
corner right there?
Yep.
Or you see this little spot right over here where you see the
Yep.
divot in the wall?" I mean, I don't think
We're all gonna be
what
our
you're
biggest critic.
yeah, I mean, we're super critical of our own work.
Sure.
And for most
And
people, I mean,
and
for
that's
the stuff you're
awesome
doing,
maybe
yeah, I mean,
because
they look at
you
it
know
as a work of art.
even though it's going to work for its fit, form, and function, there will be some flaws on the surface that just can't let it go like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. And then I had this one job not too long ago. This guy, he sent me these castings. They wouldn't release from the sand right, so I told him, I said, we're going to have a pattern for this. So he 3D printed some patterns, and I still was having trouble with it. But it wasn't by then. It wasn't with pulling the patterns. It was with the casting defects that were going on with it. I had some pretty good craters in it, and I said these are not going to leave. Well, he told me. He said, I don't care what they look like. Just send me these pieces because I need to get this machine up and going. I said, all right. So I did. And he said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. These look better than the originals. I'm thinking,
Yep. Yep.
okay, well, good.
Yeah, and it
So,
really just depends on the customers. I mean, some customers it depends on what it is. A lot of the parts that we produce that they have to be. I mean, they've got to look visually good, in certain. And so it just depends on what it is. If it's like these decorative parts that I'm doing for you, um,
yeah.
they're not going to be the same caliber as our other stuff. And part of it is,
Right.
and kudos to you, Clark, because the things that you do with these patterns, you get some decent patterns that you have of lately, but a lot of times you're using a casting to make a casting. I- You are one ambitious man because I would tell those guys, no way in Hades am I going to make a casting from those
Yeah.
parts. So, I mean, for the fact
Yeah.
that you can do it, you know what that tells me? You're a real molder because other people wouldn't be able to make a mold one the way that you make them at all.
And green sand at that. You're
Yeah.
using a resin bond, which is a lot more durable, but at the same time, it makes it harder to pull
Yeah,
too.
if there's undercut in
Um,
your hose, because it's going to be stuck. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas green sand, you can do
So
your little tappy side to side, and you can make it a little
yeah,
bit bigger, and it will dump out of there. It's much more forgiving in
yeah,
that regard. And actually, if you were using anything but green sand, I would stand to say you probably wouldn't produce most of the molds that you produce.
right. Oh, I totally agree because, and I try to address profile on perpendicular surfaces that may have a little draft angle to them. If your finish is rough, if your profile is rough on the sides,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if you got angle in it or not because each one of those little defect or those little
Like
bitty
little
profiles that
little
stick
teeth.
up above, they're exactly.
Hmm.
It's all just going to grab like Velcro. So yeah, I try to. I have ways of overcoming a lot of that. Several coats of paint
Yeah,
and graphite uh, layered on there
sure.
helped me a lot with that, and I rely on it. It's a nasty, sticky mess, but whatever it takes to get that thing to pull out of the sand, sometimes I have to do that.
Yeah,
And there have been castings where I've had to just completely grind those that you've got. As a matter of fact, I had to do that on several of the features. I had to go in with a burr and recreate
yeah,
draft angle
sure.
on some of these little veins because what happens is the original pattern had that, but when that's made into a casting, it shrinks in,
Sure.
especially in little tight areas like that, it wants to pull in this way, which creates a negative draft.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem I run into when it comes to using castings for a pattern. Sometimes I have to send the thing right back to them, tell them we just can't do it.
There many of the ones
It
I've
can't.
seen you make, I would not even attempt it. I'd be like, my time is worth more than that, and for me to make that, it's going to be $1,000, and they'd be like, oh, what? I'm like,
Well,
no, because it's going to take me a week to get this thing up and running. So, do
yeah,
you want them or do you not? Because every day that I'm messing with this, I can't produce something else that actually makes payroll and be able to
I
pay my
know.
electric bill and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So you are
Yeah.
much better than I. I can tell you that right now.
Well, I have definitely had my challenges here, and one of the things you're going to be seeing on one of my videos coming up soon, we're making parts for a B-17 they're restoring up in Asheville,
Nice.
the Lucky 13, and they're working on the turret. There's a chunk of the turret missing on the upper turret, and we're casting a new piece for them to weld back into that. And the profiles, there's no way this is going to go into a green sand mold and be able to be pulled, because there is a because of the geometry of this thing is just so backwards. But that sat around here for months, and then it finally hit me. I can just ram it up in a block of sand and melt the thing out and then pour it.
Yeah.
And why did it take me this long to figure that out?
I understand. I can relate
So
to
that
that.
now that opens the door for other things, right? So if people want to send me 3D printed patterns, which I dreaded in the
Oh
past,
no, I love them.
it's not a problem
Yeah.
as long as they can do away with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not lost wax process, but it kind of follows along those same lines there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, with us having the investment foundry here at KN, it makes it opens your eyes to all the things that you can do when you can melt something out and leave a void in a mold, especially in a
Yeah,
ceramic mold.
yeah,
It's impressive, and using 3D printed technology, even filament, wax infused filament and that sort of thing. SLA patterns, basically. When I say patterns, I say it's just basically the part, and then you tree it up, put it on the sprue, and melt it out with heat.
yeah,
I mean, it's remarkable the surface finish you can get on an investment casting. It's just uncanny. It's very
yeah,
impressive. Dimensional accuracy. You can cast threads. You can cast holes on things that you never would have thought you would have been able to produce well, you wouldn't be able to do it in sand casting. It's just you wouldn't be able to do it. So it's pretty cool. So
Hey,
with this episode, we were planning on. I had an idea. I don't know. Maybe it was an epiphany or just a thought. I don't know. But that we were going to do a trivia for our listeners. Yeah, all 10 of them. I know. So the competition is very stiff. I realize. But with that being said, so we're going to do a trivia giveaway. Um, so the 10th person to email Nate at foundrytalk.com with the correct answers, which the answers are not hard, but this is mainly to promote Professor Campbell. I stand on it, and the knowledge that is available in the book written by Professor Campbell. I don't know if this thing will focus. The Mini Casting Handbook. This is the third edition. This is the latest edition. So anybody that can, the 10th person to email Nate at foundrytalk.com will receive this book. It's outstanding. It's a quick read. You could read it in an hour, 2 hours, and they'll also receive a mini T-Rex skull head. We'll ship it to you. It won't cost you a penny. You just need your address and all of that. This shout out to Matthews Additive, Dave Rittmeyer. He's when we had some mold packages come in, he sent me some tiny T-Rex molds in here, and we poured some. This one's going to be out of aluminum. You'll get that. So I mean, what better giveaway than good knowledge if you're a learner and you want to learn? And I'm going to send one of these to Clarke as well, because he needs.
Cool. I was just sending you an email, and then I got thinking, I bet I don't qualify for that.
No, yeah,
Do
yeah.
I get a
Well,
dinosaur head?
you're getting one anyway. No, the only way you can get the dinosaur is if you answer the question, and the question is, what are Professor Campbell's top 10 rules for producing a good casting? You can find the answers online. So the 10th person, not the first, the 10th person to email Nate@foundrytalk.com will win the giveaway. So if you're not a Foundry dork like the rest of us, you're probably not going to email us. But you may not want the book, but everybody wants a tiny T.
Everybody wants that skull.
Yeah. So who doesn't want that? That is cool. So
That skull would look cool on my truck.
it would. Yeah. Just mount it. It'd look even better on your dad's truck when he's out burning up the roads around your house.
Yeah.
So, yep. So I hope we get some participation. We're trying to get some participation from the audience. Without you guys, thank you. We wouldn't even have a podcast. Nobody would watch it, and it'd just be us talking. Us three dorks on here talking. So, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know Perry does as well. It's a big deal. And we appreciate you taking the time to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We actually started putting the podcast on X as well. Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other famous platforms, or popular platforms. So, and if you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us via our website at foundrytalk.com or email Perry, Perry @foundrytalk.com and Nate@foundrytalk.com. Comments, you want to ridicule us, you can send those too. Those go to a certain special folder labeled. Well, we won't even tell you what the label is for those. And if you really want to get nasty, if you want to really get nasty, send the really nasty emails to Clarke. He has plenty of time to read through it.
I get them all the time.
Clarke at windyhillfoundry.com. Visit Clarke's website. He's got some really cool products on his website. Help him out. He needs orders 5, 6, 7, 100 different pieces of different things. His hat, for an example, buy his Windy Hill hat. I mean, it's phenomenal. Support the man.
Speaking of which, we're out, and I've already got some that are paid for, and we've already reordered.
So can you pre-order? You can go ahead and buy them even though they're out of stock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I gotta check on that and see where they're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hats are not cheap.
No, they're not.
By the way,
they're not at all. Clarke, I was going to give you a little tip, especially when these castings came in the other day, and I was like, man, I'm going to have to. There's a few little spots on there that have some undercuts on them. I'm going to have to make sure they got some draft and stuff on there. I'll give you a secret tip and something that I use a lot, and I get some really weird looks, especially in the foundry. There's foundry guys, and there's foundry talk and all this kind of stuff, rhetoric and things of that nature with your teammates and associates, the families that you work with. But so this right here is the secret weapon. Can you see that?
Vaseline.
Yeah. You know what I use that for? Yeah. Well,
I can only imagine.
I want it.
Hey, this is a PG podcast, folks. So it's only got to be on the up and up. It's all above board, right? As my business partner Matt Lyons, we joke about, it's all above board. So I use that. So on those castings, what I'll do is I'll take this Vaseline, put it on there with an acid brush, anywhere that I want to put some Bondo on it, and what I'll do is I'll make I'll make basically just like a cast from the profile. I'll put the Vaseline on it. I'll blob I might take some clay, or I may just take some Bondo and Bondo it and put it on there, and then it just pops right back off. And I can sand on that. Put the draft on it that I want, and then I can just put some Bondo on it and just gush it back on there. And then it's quick, it's easy. I don't have to grind on that cast. I'll add material to it, because if there's a shrink or an undercut there, then I'm able to put the Bondo or Freeman Manufacturing, which is a foundry supply company. They've got some Tough Fill, which is a better product, but Bondo is cheap. So anyway, that's the secret tip. Vaseline, baby. And no, that's not a paid advertisement. Procter & Gamble does not give us a dime for our podcast at all. Although Procter & Gamble, we would accept a sponsorship if you'd like to contact us. Perry @foundrytalk.com. He's all about. He'll actually do the NASCAR shirt, and he'll have Vaseline right across the side of it here.
I'll have
on his shirt.
Vaseline right here.
Yeah. He's not too proud to wear a Vaseline shirt.
I don't go anywhere, even to bed, without Vaseline. Right?
I like to thank my sponsors.
All right. Well, I think this is as great a
I
good
had
a
a
place
good
as any
time,
to.
guys.
I'm sorry. What?
I had a good time.
Well, we
Well,
did
it
too,
was,
Clarke, and thank you very much for taking the time. We know you're busy, and you got a lot of R&D stuff going on with your new furnace. We wish you well, and we're going to get these parts knocked out for you. They'll probably ship the first of next week. So those guys are going to come pick those up.
I
So
know they'll be happy.
yeah.
They'll be thrilled.
Yeah, you bet. Is
Yeah,
there
we're looking
anything?
forward to seeing that. Go ahead.
What's that?
I was going to
We're
ask if there
looking
was.
forward to seeing that. Try one more time, Nate.
Go for it. Go for it. I'm out.
I'm looking forward to seeing that furnace of yours actually pouring like it's supposed to, and
Me too.
and I'm sure you are.
will.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah, it will. I just can't guarantee if we're there yet.
Yeah.
And once we get to that point, it's going to look a little different after we finally get everything tweaked, because I've got a bunch of stainless steel heat shields that are going to be going all over it, so it'll look a little different than it does now. But I have I got a little more cosmetic work to do to it once we figure out once I'm happy with what I figure out.
Yeah.
I keep saying we like there's somebody here now.
Well,
and it's not.
yeah.
It's
Well,
just
your wife is your partner, so it is we, and dollar
$1 million.
Yeah.
Dollar's part of the crew.
Dollar's part of the crew. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
All
have
right, guys,
Do you have
well-
any social media handles or anything that anybody can look at other than your YouTube channel? It's Windy Hill Foundry on YouTube.
Well, I do, but I'm not that active on them.
Okay.
It's all I can do to find time to edit videos for YouTube, but I occasionally will try to slip some behind the scenes stuff into Instagram, and my name there is Clarke.
Griswold?
What is my name there?
Clarke Griswold?
Yeah.
That there, Clarke, is an RV.
Yep. According to this, my username is Clarke Easterling, all one word, 67.
Okay.
And then my website is, of course, windyhillfoundry.com. And my Facebook is, I have a Windy Hill Foundry site on Facebook, but I'm doing more on my personal Facebook than I am on my Windy Hill. And when it comes to posting pics, I have a hard time keeping them updated. But YouTube, if you look up Windy Hill Foundry on YouTube and subscribe, you'll be able to follow and see everything we're doing there from every week. I try to keep at least one video a week posted. It's challenging, but it might be a great video. It may be a boring video. I can't guarantee that.
They're always real, though.
It is. It's real world situation.
Yep.
And yeah. But I'm honored that you guys thought of me, and I guess this is officially really the first podcast I've ever been on. I think.
Wow.
I've been on a something with, oh goodness, Harold, RW. I can't remember what that channel is. There was like 8 of us or 9 of us all at once talking, and I did that one time, and I royally screwed up.
I may have been
or-
on that same, not the one with you, but I think I went on that same channel. They invited me. It was
Yeah.
like a panel of guys talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I'd forgotten all about
Yeah.
that.
Is that considered a podcast?
No, I'm gonna say no.
Well, this is my first podcast. And
There you go.
Out of curiosity, how did you get to know Keith Rutger and Mr. Pete?
well, I've always been a big fan of Mr. Pete's
Hmm.
and
Likewise.
Keith's. I like to. I was watching Keith Rucker's videos before he ever contacted me, but he was looking for someone to start casting at straight edges, and I don't know how he got a hold of me, but well, he got a hold of me through Facebook Messenger,
Okay.
and from there it took off. And then since then, I had the opportunity to physically meet Mr. Pete at the Barzee Bash back 5 years ago, and that got us to talking, and he got to know me, and ever since then, I mean, he's a wonderful man. Him and his wife both. But I've stayed at their house on several different occasions, and I, you know, I consider him a mentor. On what he teaches. He he may not be the expert on everything, but he is a very good instructional teacher on all these uh, on a whole bunch of different topics. And I never lose interest in him. I'm always watching his channel, and if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't understand the concept of what a windlass is.
Yeah.
I saw that video and I saw him give it, and he made it very interesting.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
that's just one example. But I I actually uh, he's like a relative of mine.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can see
And
that.
Keith's like my cousin. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure it's a hoot when you guys
it's
go on your road trips. I'm sure it's just a ball of fun.
wow. It
Yeah.
is. It was. And Mike Wiggins was with us on part of those trips, and then it was just me and Keith on some of the others. But yeah, we had a great time no matter where we went, except for New York City.
Get a rope.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
So Mr. Pete is not the same. I guess I'm asking. It's not the same as Tubal Cain, right? That's a different guy.
Same guy.
Yeah, that's
Same guy.
him.
Oh, is Pete? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Pete has dedicated his life to teaching, even after his retirement years. He's still in it. And we were talking one night, and he said something to the effect that he hates it. I couldn't have been one of his students, and I told him, I said,
I
not
am.
back then. You would have been wearing me out. I would have been that student sitting on top of the metal shaper riding it like the rodeo. I would have been the kid that was always in trouble back then. No, I would have been your worst nightmare.
Yeah. Well,
I love him to death, but I wouldn't have wanted to put him through that.
yeah. The thing is, what he's not understanding is you are one of his students. I'm one of his students. I love watching his videos,
Yeah.
and it's there out, and I'll show them to my grandson. I mean, because it's such a wealth of knowledge. And again, there are certain people in the world that are teachers. He's a teacher through and through. I could never be a teacher. I would strangle those little turds. But
Yeah.
he's got it. And I could never do that.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to Mr. Pete for sure.
Yeah, he's taken on a lot to educate people, and like I said, I feel a kinship to him.
Sure. Well, thanks for taking the time to carve out for the podcast, Clarke. We appreciate it. We'll do it again. There's so much more to talk about when it comes to being in the foundry industry and running a foundry yourself. I mean, you're in your infancy
There is.
still to this day, and I mean, there's a lot that goes on with it, with the business, the back end side of it, that's the invoicing and all the other stuff, and coming up with the ideas of what you can sell and that sort of thing. And you become your own boss and that sort of thing. I think that's very interesting to a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that don't like working the 9 to 5 job or whatever. They want to be their own boss,
Yeah.
but at the same time, as we see in your videos, and we've touched on today, it's not for the faint of heart. You've got to have some grit and some determination, and you got to have, for the lack of word, you got to have some balls of steel sometimes to be able to pull this thing off.
All right, guys. Well, let's wrap this up. Thank you, Clarke, again for being here. It's been a just a treasure for me. I've enjoyed this immensely. And
Well, thanks for having.
yeah, I appreciate you doing this. And we'll be, obviously, you guys will be in touch. Maybe I'll get to be on the periphery of some of your discussions. So,
No, you're gonna always be in them, Perry. Don't exclude yourself.
Yeah, well,
well, I don't need
and
to
if
be
you
in. I don't
if you
need to
don't
be in a
think
lot of them, but
if you don't think you are, we'll just talk about you behind your back, and you'll still be in them. How about that?
that
There you go.
that would be awesome.
What are
All
friends
right, guys.
for? You
Well,
don't need any enemies.
We
yeah, I
think
know.
about
With friends like you, who needs enemies, right?
you.
I've enjoyed this,
All right.
guys.
Well,
Till next time.
thanks again, guys. We will catch you on the next one.
Yep. Love one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and get some pants on.
Yep. Go put your pants on, Clark, and don't forget, guys.
Yeah.
Go when you're out there in public and you're out driving. Just love one another. Okay. Life is so much easier
Yeah.
and it's so short.
There you go.
Just love each other.